Lutheran High Northeast. And that 9-hitter is Kaylee Franz Loopers. I believe I said Katie inadvertently a little while ago. Now defensively for O'Neill, the Eagles have Shelby Heiser at third, Randy Pinkerman at short, Alex Atkins at second, Aaron Boyle at first, Carly Basagio in left, Danny Barrelman in center, Marissa Miles in right, Jesse Simons is the pitcher, and Tony Hammock is the catcher. The Eagles won earlier today by a score of 14-0 over Madison. Just about ready to go here as Simons is ready to deal to Krackemeyer. This first pitch is up high for ball one. 1-0 to Miranda Krackemeyer. The coaches for Guardian Angels, Al Krackemeyer is the head coach, Bruce Schlecht and Amber Schlecht the assistants. We saw Bruce at the State Legion tournament this summer as he was one of the coaches for the West Point seniors. This one's fouled back to the screen by Krackemeyer, so it evens up 1-1. These two teams have not met on the season. Tori Krackemeyer waits on deck, and then Cassie Fredrickson. If somebody would reach base, Peyton would bat. Simons, the pitch, swung on, hit in the air, the gap in right center. The outfielders give chase. This one's going to the wall. Krackemeyer around first, and she's easily into second base with a leadoff double. So Miranda Krackemeyer jumps all over that offering from Simons and takes it to deep right center. For West Point CC on the year, they are now 11-8. They will meet the O'Neill Eagles in regular season play later on this year. O'Neill is now 15-2 after that win earlier today. So here is Tori Krackemeyer showing bunch. He puts it down. Simons one play, that's to first. Low throw. Boyle picks it up. To third goes Miranda Krackemeyer, and Tori Krackemeyer gone 1-3. Will give her a sack bunt for out number one. Cassie Fredrickson, third baseman, stands in. There are those who would argue that with a runner on second base that they're already in scoring position, but in a scoreless game, I think you give Krackemeyer the benefit of the doubt and give her that sack bunt that moves Miranda Krackemeyer to third. Here's Fredrickson. This pitch swung on, fouled back. 0-1 to Fredrickson. Skylar Payton, the right fielder, waiting on deck. We're hoping to be joined by Lindsay Appleby here in a few moments on this broadcast. O'Neill High School senior, as we're bringing this on the O'Neill High School website via Ustream. Popped up to the pitcher Simons, and she makes the catch. So Cassidy Fredrickson out with a pop-up to the pitcher, Jesse Simons. And here's Skylar Payton, the right fielder, the four-hitter in the order. Guardian Angels has the blue jerseys. They have the white Under Armour underneath those and the black pants with the blue socks. Called strike one. 0-1 to Payton. O'Neill with the white jerseys on, the blue pants, and the blue numerals and lettering. Outfield straightaway for the right-handed batter. Simons, the pitch. This one up high for ball one. 1-1, it evens up on Payton with Marissa Franzlubers waiting in the on-deck circle. A runner at third and 2 outs, top half of the first. The batter, Payton, asks for time and is granted so by the plate umpire, Gene Kelly. This pitch runs inside for ball two. Simons didn't miss by much. She is a junior at St. Mary's High School. This is a co-op between O'Neill High and St. Mary's, this O'Neill softball team. The pitch. This one's in for a called strike two. 2-2, it evens up on Payton with a runner at third and 2 outs. Line towards short. Pinkerman gloves it from the hole. Strong throw across in time to Boyle. So Payton gone 6-3 on a fine play by Randy Pinkerman. The Blue Jays threaten but don't score in the top of the first. No runs, a hit. There were no errors and a runner left on base. After a half inning of play, your score, Guardian Angels 0 and O'Neill coming to bat. Due up for O'Neill in the bottom of the first, Randy Pinkerman, Jesse Simons, and Danny Barrelman. And pleased to be joined now by O'Neill High School senior Lindsay Appleby, perhaps running a little bit late from volleyball practice and also maybe some homework.
Yep.
Okay, no Monday Night Football?
Nope. I had to study for a test.
Of course, you get a chance to watch some Sunday football next weekend.
I do.
As one of Lindsay's cousins is Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Miles Austin. And that has to be a big thrill. You've watched him play on the road before, but never in Dallas.
In Denver, not in Dallas. So I'm excited to see the new stadium and watch him play.
Very good. We have softball here, and this is a sport you're very familiar with. The last 2 summers you played on state championship teams, and so you're pretty familiar certainly with some of the O'Neill players and perhaps even some of these Guardian Angels Central Catholic players.
Yeah.
As we watch the pitcher for Guardian Angels Central Catholic, Erica Pribnow. I think I inadvertently earlier called her Emily, but fine pitcher who's had a little bit of trouble. I believe she broke a finger earlier in the year and was missed several games. And I think she also has some relatives here in the O'Neill area. We watched her come on and get the win in relief earlier today as Guardian Angels came from behind to beat Lutheran High Northeast 2-1, and they got 2 runs in the bottom of the 7th. Over on field 1, Lutheran High is taking on Boone Central in the 5th place game. And I believe that Lutheran High has the lead in that one. We'll try to check on that as we go along. Here is Randy Pinkerman, right-handed batting shortstop, followed by Jesse Simons and then Danny Barrelman. If somebody would reach base, the catcher Tony Hammock would bat. Pinkerman runs well. She's a sophomore. Pribnow, hard-throwing right-hander. Inside for ball 1. And we're going to take a look at the catcher, Katie Brown, and it looks like she is looking over into the dugout, so I would assume that the coaches for GACC are calling these pitches. And I think some of Pribnow's O'Neill relatives have just come to the field here at Kearney Park.
Looks like it.
This one is a called strike 1. 1-1 to Randy Pinkerman with Simons on deck.
Foul ball.
So that one back out of play, so it moves to 1-2 on Pinkerman. Earlier today, Pinkerman was the starting shortstop in that win over Madison. She actually was 2 for 2 with a couple of runs scored as O'Neill was able to substitute liberally as that game moved along.
Time called by Pinkerman.
She glances down at Chuck Price, who was one of your summer coaches for a number of years.
Yes.
This one, Pribnow missed with the change, and it evens up 2-2. The Blue Jays have Fredrickson at third. The shortstop is Melanie Stratman. I apologize to her. I forgot to write her on my defensive card.
Foul ball. Again by Randy Pinkerman.
Out of play on the right side, so Pinkerman providing a tough at bat here for the Eagles as O'Neill comes to bat in the bottom of the first, scoreless game. The winner will go to the finals tomorrow night and take on Wayne at 7 o'clock. Pinkerman swings and misses, and perhaps the catcher, Katie Brown, dropped that third strike. She threw down to first as Pinkerman ran, so a strikeout and a 2-3 putout for out number 1. And here's Jesse Simons, and Simons, like we see so many batters do in softball as their career goes on, they learn to bat left-handed.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, that was natural for you.
Yes, it was.
Is, I guess I should say, not was, maybe. Do you have plans to play next summer yet?
I think so, as long as we have enough girls.
As your 18 and under team, that was the Shamrocks, won the state tournament, Class C in Hastings.
Yes, we would have to advance to Class B next year if we have enough girls.
This one is outside for ball 2 as Brown, the catcher, she actually lost the mitt there. She went back to the screen to get that one. 2-0 to Jesse Simons. And I think Jessie actually started her career as a right-handed batter and then slowly learned to bat from the left side. She has excellent speed.
Ball
And
outside.
the third baseman, Fredrickson, she is more than halfway down the line. You can see that perhaps.
First baseman almost as well.
And that is Marissa Franzlubers. This one through for a called strike. Simons ahead 3-0 was taking all the way.
That's ball 4. Jesse Simons advances to first base.
Simons definitely a threat to steal. Another player with some pretty good speed. Danny Barrelman, the center fielder, now steps in with Tony Hammock waiting on deck. Earlier today in that Pierce versus Boone Central game, Cody Belzer and I talked about it. I think we went till the 4th or 5th inning before we saw a foul ball actually go out of play, and that can be a problem here with the low fences on the sides. And already in this game, we've seen, I think, 3 or 4 go beyond the fences. The temporary fence you see in the outfield, that's at about 200 feet from home plate. So far, we have not seen one fly out.
Steal by Simons. Safe at second.
Although Wayne, in that game a little while ago against Pierce, had a player take one to what you would call the warning track, although it's not marked. It was tracked down there, however, by Pierce's left fielder.
Third baseman is coming up short on Danny Barrelman here.
Simons to second, and Barrelman now with a 1-1 count. Eagles, through the years, as O'Neill's program started in the fall of 2007, they have typically been very aggressive on the bases, especially early in games.
Swing by Danny Barrelman to left center. And Jesse Simons scores.
A run-scoring single for Barrelman, as Danny Barrelman takes one to left center, and Simons, we mentioned that she runs well, and she scored standing up as Weiler and Tori Krakemeyer converged on that one. Not much they could do as the speedy Simons, once she saw it was going to drop, she was around third base and headed home. Here's Tony Hammock, cleanup hitter, the catcher, and she has some power.
Ooh, right on the outside edge of that plate. Called strike.
Good pitch from Pribb now. 0-1 with Aaron Boyle waiting in the on-deck circle. Good crowd on hand. Did not check with Guardian Angels if they plan to stay tonight or drive back to West Point.
Pop up to the pitcher. Hammock's out. Boyle up to bat.
That's Aaron Boyle, the first baseman, right-handed batter. With Danny Barrelman over there at first base now, and 2 outs. O'Neill has gained the lead here, 1-0 in the bottom half of inning number 1.
Low pitch by Krakemeyer.
Actually, Pribb now.
Pribb now, my bad.
But it's easy to see why you would say Krakemeyer, because I think there are 3 of them in the starting lineup. This one's down low for ball 2. As you have Miranda Krakemeyer playing second base, Tori Krakemeyer playing left field. And actually the coach is Krakemeyer. Franzlubers, there's 2 Franzlubers also.
Base hit by Boyle. Barrelman advances to second.
Good piece of hitting there by Aaron Boyle as she hit it the other way and into right center for a solid single. O'Neill's second hit of the inning. Here's Carly Basagio. She was the starting catcher in the earlier game today, now playing left field.
Ground ball to the second baseman and out.
Miranda Krakemeyer over to Marissa Franzlubers. Say that 3 times fast. 4-3 put out for out number 3. For O'Neill, though, in the bottom of the first, they get a run on 2 hits. There were no errors and a couple of runners left on base. So after an inning complete, your score. It is O'Neill 1 and Guardian Angels Central Catholic 0. Now we're going to have to count letters during this game, and I spelled Krakemeyer phonetically, not the way it's spelled, but they may be a part of history with Franz Lubers and Krakemeyer over on the right side of the infield. In professional baseball, they actually keep this fact. The Kansas City Royals a few years ago had a second baseman named Mark Grudzielanek and a first baseman named Doug McCavage, and someone did the research and they discovered that those are the most letters in last names in baseball, professional baseball history on the right side of one infield. Now, I'm going to say that Krakemeyer and Franz Lubers, that would have to be at least the most letters in Nebraska softball history, wouldn't it?
Probably.
A couple of pretty long names there, and they made a nice play to end the first. Jessie Simons back out there to work in the circle, and she'll have Marissa Franz. Can't break through it all. It's a Jessie Simons. Heartbreak. Franz Lubers, right-handed batting first baseman. Outfield straight away for her. As you mentioned, these teams have not met yet on the regular season, but they will a little later on. This, of course, mid-state tournament play.
Jessie Simons low inside for ball 1.
I'll try to check that date for you. I think that game between O'Neill and Guardian Angels will take place here in O'Neill.
Ground ball right between Jessie Simons' legs.
And as hard as that was hit, I think I'd be inclined to give Franz Lubers a single on that one, as Simons at 43 feet away, she did not have a lot of time to react. O'Neill will meet Guardian Angels Central Catholic in regular season play on the 29th of September here in O'Neill. District's not so far away.
Katie Brown up to bat. She bunts. Jessie Simons throws to first for the out.
So a 1-3 put out for out number 1, but you credit Brown with a sacrifice bunt that moves Franz Lubers to second base. And here's Melanie Stratman. Of course, glad to have you along for this Ustream video, part of Eagle Eye Sports. Thanks to Telebeep Wireless for providing our internet signal.
Tough fly ball right behind the pitcher. Randy Pinkerman tries to make that out.
We're going to give Stratman an infield single. I think at second glance that Simons may have had a better chance at that one, but oftentimes you're coached to try to let your infielders make those plays when you can, but Pinkerman, who was playing deep, had a long way to run, and so we'll credit Stratman with the infield single, and runners on first and second and 1 out now for Anna Weiler, the center fielder.
Foul ball.
Strike 1 to Weiler. If you're so inclined, drop us a text, 340-3513. Let us know where you're listening from and watching. We'd love to hear from you.
Tony Hanemick runs back the runner on second.
So that pitch was up for ball 1. So runners on first and second, 1 out here as Guardian Angels Central Catholic trying to draw even or perhaps forge ahead of O'Neill in the top of the second. Winner goes to the Mid-State Championship game.
Must have been another high ball there for ball 2, I believe.
2-1 now to Weiler is the count. O'Neill, one of the newer members in the Mid-State Conference, does not have a Mid-State Conference championship. Did have a good showing last year in the softball tournament, but placed third. 2-2 now to Weiler. Simons looks in as the pitches are coming from the O'Neill dugout. Coach Chuck Price as Hammock glanced over there.
Strike 3 for Weiler.
Big pitch there from Simons as she came with the heat, and now there are 2 gone for Kaylee Franz Luber. She's the designated player, the baseball equivalent would be the designated hitter. She is hitting for Pribnow, the pitcher.
Runners still on first and second.
Marissa Franzluber's at second and Melanie Stratman at first.
Pop fly to first and Boyle with the out.
So Aaron Boyle makes the catch, and the Eagles get out of a mini jam here early. No runs for the Guardian Angel Central Catholic Blue Jays, but they do collect 2 hits. There were no errors and 2 runners left on base. After an inning and a half of play, your score, it is O'Neill 1 and Guardian Angel Central Catholic 0. Due up for O'Neill in the bottom of the second will be Heiser, Miles, and Lichty. Good to hear from Chris Slack down in Seward, as we heard from him earlier today, as he's listening and cheering on the O'Neill Eagles. O'Neill will have Heiser, Miles, Lichty, the 7, 8, and 9 hitters. Lichty is a designated player. So the throw from Brown goes through to second base, and the Blue Jays meet in the pitcher's circle. And we're ready to get underway here in the bottom of the second. Here is Heiser, the third baseman. She has the only triple I've seen so far in this tournament. That came earlier today against Madison. Pribnow starts her with a fastball away, ball 1. Heiser, a sophomore who has taken over at third base for 3-year starter Desi Pinkerman.
Inside pitch by Pribnow for ball 2.
As it was Randy Pinkerman, the shortstop, who took over for Kelsey Ross.
Pribnow with the windup. Low outside. 3-0 count here for Heiser.
Marissa Miles waits in the on-deck circle.
Shows the fake bunt. Strike by Pribnow. 3-1 count.
What's your feeling on the fake bunt on 3-0? Do you think umpires like that or not?
Being an umpire during summer for 12 and under and stuff, I can see why coaches do it. Our team did it this summer for our state championship team, but I'm not crazy about it because it's either going to be you aren't swinging at it anyway, so you might as well let the umpire get a good look at it.
That's kind of my feeling as well. I always think that when I was an umpire, which was a short-lived career, but I always thought that if it was close, I would give the benefit of the doubt to the pitcher if the batter had the bat out there just waving it around.
Mm-hmm.
Because it does take away a little bit of your view. It's easy to understand both schools of thought, though. A 4-3 put out for out number 1, and here's Marissa Miles.
The windup, high pitch. Miles swings at it for a count of 0-2.
As hard as Pribnow throws, I think if she could stay up there and get the Eagles to swing, she'd just stay up there the whole game. That'd be a tough one to catch up with. That time it was the changeup,
Yes,
and
was.
Miles fouled it off on the right side. Ariel Lichty waiting on deck.
Pribnow with the windup. Strike 3 for Miles. She went down swinging.
So for Pribnow, her second strikeout. And here's Ariel Lichty, the designated player. Lichty batting for Alex Atkins, who is playing second base. Lichty, she played on that Mean Green 14 and under state championships team this summer. Called strike 1. She is a sophomore at O'Neill High School.
Swing by Lichty. Strike 1. Oh, strike 2.
So quickly, Pribnow jumps out in front of Ariel Lichty, the 9-hitter.
Strike 3 for Ariel Lichty.
So Prib now uses just 7 pitches to get the last 2 O'Neill hitters swinging in the bottom of the second. For O'Neill, no runs, no hits, there were no errors, and nobody left on base. We've played 2. Your score, this mid-state semifinal, it is O'Neill 1 and GACC 0. We go to the third, and Guardian Angels will send up Krackemeyer, and Fredrickson. And you'd have to think, if you, as teams go, figure up all the letters and all the last names of their starters, they may have the record there for the state as well.
Yes.
2 Krackemeyers of Fredrickson, Franz Lubers, Stratman, Payton, Weiler, and then Brown, or Prib now has 6 letters, and then Brown with 5 letters. So, speculation on our part. Here comes Miranda Krackemeyer. She doubled to start the ball game and then was stranded at third base. As Tori Krackemeyer sacrificed her to third, but then Fredrickson popped up and Payton grounded out to Pinkerman at short, a play where Randy Pinkerman went to the hole and made a strong throw across.
High pitch by Simons.
So a 1-0 count to Krackemeyer. Eagles have Heiser at third. She's playing even with the bag right now. Pinkerman
It's moving back and forth, it looks like.
to the hole more now at short.
High inside by Simons.
Simons tried to use the body English to bring that one back across the plate, but it didn't quite break. Atkins more over toward the hole on the right side as well, as the Eagles are really conceding the middle.
Low inside by Simons for a count of 3-0.
Eagles have Passaggio in left, Barrelman in center, and Miles in right.
Let's see if we see that fake bunt. Low inside again for ball 4.
So
Krackemeyer advances to first.
Here's Tori Krackemeyer, the left fielder. She's officially has no plate appearances, a sacrifice bunt back in the first. A long look down at Coach Al Krackemeyer in the third base box.
Wind up by Simons. Attempted bunt by Tori Krackemeyer. Goes foul.
Oftentimes as the 2-hitter, she's used to this. If the leadoff hitter gets on, in most situations, she's probably called on to bunt.
Betting they might try this again, but we'll have to see.
With just 1 strike, it'd be a good bet.
Attempts a butt again. Right to Simons for the out at first. Miranda Krackemeyer rounded second, but came back. For out number 1 for the Eagles.
So for the second time in the game, Tori Krackemeyer with a sac bunt. This time it moves Miranda Krackemeyer to a second base. The last one moved her to third. Here's Cassie Fredrickson, 0 for 1, a pop-up to the pitcher in the first.
Line drive, but foul ball.
0-1 to Fredrickson with Skylar Payton waiting in the on-deck circle.
Ooh, tough catch by
Carly Passaggio.
Yes.
Shoestring catch in left field. As that one seemed to freeze her for just a moment, it was hit hard, and it's now darkness has settled in here to Kearney Park, so maybe a little tough for her to see off the bat, but a fine play there, and Fredrickson hit it hard, but in the general direction of Carly Passaggio, who made a nice catch, and that
I
was
see my dad grab the foul ball from earlier.
Good work there. Good to see he's staying busy as Miranda Krackemeyer had to hold at second base. Here's Payton.
Strike 1.
She swung and missed that offering from Jesse Simons. Marissa Franzlubers waits in the on-deck circle.
She swung again for strike number 2.
So far, Simons has recorded 1 strikeout. That was Weiler back in the second.
Count is 0-2. Just got to make contact on this one. And she swings for strike number 3.
So again, GACC threatens but can't get anything across. No runs, no hits. There were no O'Neill errors and a runner left on base. After 2.5 innings of play, your score is O'Neill 1 and GACC 0. Coming up to bat for O'Neill in the bottom of the third, top of the order. Pinkerman, Simons, Barrelman. If somebody would reach base, Tony Hammock would bat. Nice crowd on hand, and it's starting to feel like fall softball. A lot of sweatshirts and blankets out tonight as temperature did not get even into the 70s today here in O'Neill. Really a pretty pleasant day overall. A little bit of breeze, and as a player, probably about right to be out there now.
Yeah.
As a fan, perhaps just a bit chilly. Nice where we are as we have a vantage point here in the press box looking from above here at Kearney Park Field 2. This is a 3-plex. If you plan to come here tomorrow and you're watching tonight, just go to the big Shamrock at the center of town, and I would presume most of the people, if you were coming tomorrow, would be coming from the east, so that would mean you'd be on Highway 20 going west, and you would take a left at the Shamrock and come across the railroad tracks and then a left into Kearney Park. This is in South O'Neill, which is only a couple blocks from North O'Neill.
Yes.
Here's Randy Pinkerman, strikeout victim back in the first. Pribb now has struck out 3.
Right down in between second and shortstop.
Shortstop.
Melanie Stratman takes the out.
So Pinkerman gone on 1 pitch for out number 1. And here's Jessie Simons. She so far has scored the game's only run. She walked and then scored on, and then stole second and then scored on Danny Barrelman's single. 3-0 Boone Central.
Strike 1 for Simons.
Or I should double check that. I think Boone Central is leading over there, but I better double check. Boone Central leading 3-0 over Lutheran High Northeast in the 5th place game. Or Lutheran High is leading 3-0. We have that. Sorry, I'll make the correction there. 0-2 to Simons.
Low outside, making the count 1-2.
Alex Hedlund watching from Hastings College, cheering on the O'Neill Eagles. One of your summer softball teammates from a year ago,
yes.
Lindsay.
Back when we were the Heat. Now a younger 12 and under team took our name.
As the count actually evens up now, 2-2 on Jessie Simons. 2 balls, 2 strikes with Barrelman waiting on deck.
Pribb now with the windup. Simons makes contact, but it goes foul.
She fought off a tough pitch there. Looked like she hit that one off the fist.
Simons still alive.
Simons' Green Machine summer team. They played in Class B this year and placed 3rd down at Lexington.
Right past the pitcher. Simons advances to first.
Nice piece of hitting there by Jessie Simons, who fought off a couple of good Pribb now offerings and then hit it up the middle. For O'Neill, that's the 3rd hit of the ball game. And here's Danny Barrelman, who has the game's only RBI so far.
Danny Barrelman was also on our state championship team this summer for the Shamrocks.
And she, I believe, was a center fielder.
Yes, she was.
The position she's playing tonight for the Eagles.
Must have been a little low. Receiving the signs from Coach Chuck Price. And she bunts towards the first baseman. They get her out at first, but Jessie Simons advances to second, which brings up Tony Hammock to bat.
So a nice play there, 3-4 on the putout for out number 2. Simons in scoring position for Tony Hammock, and the Eagles showing a lot of confidence in their cleanup hitter, willing to sacrifice bunt with already 1 out. Now there's 2 outs after that sac bunt.
They're looking for a 2-out rally. Wind up by Prim now. Inside for Hammock. Ball 1.
Hammock is 0 for 1. Aaron Boyle waits on deck. We talked earlier today about how Kearney Park has played host to a number of ASA summer tournaments, and West Point figures in to one of those prominently.
Time called by Hammock.
I think it was about 2001 when a West Point team actually reached the finals here in O'Neill. I think they lost that game to Shadron, but I'm guessing these young ladies from West Point would be a little too young to remember that.
Ground ball to shortstop. In close play at first, but she's out.
Nice play there by Stratman. She went in the hole to get that one. Made a strong throw across to Franz Lubers. 6-3 for out number 3. So O'Neill threatens but can't get anything across in the third. No runs, a hit. That was Simons' a single. There were no errors, and 1 runner left on base. Your score after 3 completed is O'Neill 1 and Guardian Angel Central Catholic 0. Due up for GACC, the 5, 6, and 7 hitters, Franz Lubers, Brown, and Stratman, to face Jesse Simons.
I really like how these teams hustle out after they get done batting. Had a little trouble with that this year with the 12 and under. We had to keep reminding them to hustle out, but
it was a hot summer.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Yes, it was.
No, I totally agree with you. That I think it shows somewhat of, as for older players, it would show a disrespect for the game. Younger players, you can maybe give the 12 and unders a little bit of a pass because they're still learning the game.
Yep.
But at this age, you want players to do just what these teams are doing: hustle in, hustle out. You're not going to make any friends with the umpires if you're lollygagging or you're walking in and out.
Making friends with umpires is one of the best things you can do.
The only player, I guess, in my opinion, as an umpire that should be allowed to walk out if they so choose would be the pitcher. And I say that probably more so from a baseball standpoint because it is a bigger field, and also the motion of throwing overhand is not as natural as the underhand motion. But I would be inclined to give the pitcher a little bit of a little bit of latitude that way as well in softball. Here's Franz Lubers, the 5 hitter. She's 1 for 1 tonight.
Strike 1 by Simons.
0-1 to Marissa Franz Lubers, then Katie Brown and Melanie Stratman.
High pop-up, but it goes foul. Stratman's still alive.
Franz Lubers.
Oh, Franz Lubers.
Stratman will be the 3 hitter, and then if somebody would reach base, Weiler would bat. Weiler is the 8 hitter in the order.
Changeup by Simons.
And she nearly dropped that one on the inside corner. As Franz Lubers took good discipline, I think, to lay off of that pitch, especially with 2 strikes.
Another foul ball by Franz Lubers.
Katie Brown, the on-deck hitter, she's the one GACC player who's not wearing the white Under Armour, and it's most likely because she is the catcher. She has the catcher's gear on for half the time.
Gets pretty hot under those pads.
Hit in the air to right.
Catch by Marissa Miles.
Yes, Miles tracks it down and gets congratulations from center fielder Danny Barrelman. So Franz Lubers gave it a pretty good ride, but Miles tracked it down in right field. And here's Katie Brown. Right-hander with a slightly closed stance.
Strike by Simons.
Brown was out 1-3 back in the second, but she got credit for a sack bunt, so officially no plate appearances for Katie Brown.
Simons throws to first for the out.
Good work there by Jesse Simons. That was not hit all that hard, and Brown got down the line quickly.
Good pitch right on the outside corner.
And here's Melanie Stratman, the shortstop. She made that fine play that ended the third inning.
Guardian Angels looking for the 2-out rally. Simons with the windup. Inside, ball 1.
Anna Weiler is waiting in the on-deck circle. Weiler is the center fielder. Count evens up at 1-1 on Stratman.
Strike 2, making the count 1-2.
Simons has a couple of strikeouts in this one. She got Weiler in the second and Payton in the third.
With the changeup, Stratman could hold off on that one. Might have been fair.
Did a
nice line drive.
Yes, did a nice job to get the bat on it, but just a little bit out in front. Couldn't quite keep the hands back.
Simons again with the windup. Right down the middle for strike number 3.
So Guardian Angels goes in order in the fourth. No runs, no hits. There were no Eagle errors, and no runners left on base. After 3.5 innings of play, your score, it is O'Neill 1 and GACC 0. Due up for O'Neill in the bottom of the fourth, Boyle, Basagio, and Heiser. And over on field 1, Lutheran High Northeast has now taken a 5-0 lead over Boone Central. And Erica Pribnow out. For her 4th inning of work. Thus far, she has struck out 3 batters. Pinkerman in the first, and Miles and Lichty in the second. Yeah, 60 or 59 degrees here and a north wind at about 10 miles an hour at Kearney Park. Breeze really not too much of a factor in this one. Guess we could call that maybe a northeasterly wind.
Boyle up to bat.
Erin Boyle, right-handed batting first baseman. She was a member of that Green Machine team that went to Lexington this summer.
Way outside for ball number 1.
Boyle singled back in the first, was stranded at first base.
Time called by the pitcher to tie her shoe.
I heard a possibility just to our north that it could get down into the 30s overnight. Maybe as low as 36 or 37 degrees.
Swing and the miss by Boyle, making the count even, 1-1.
Boyle, like a lot of these athletes, competes in basketball in the wintertime and in track during the spring.
Change up for ball 2. She's a very lengthy girl. She could do some good in basketball.
Stands about 5'9" or so does Erin Boyle. This one's down low for ball 3. Of course, O'Neill with 4 fall sports for girls.
Yes.
Golf, cross-country, volleyball, and softball.
Kind of tough, spreads it out, but we try to make it work. Ball number 4, Erin Boyle advances to first.
And here's Carly Basagio, the left fielder, who made that nice running catch to Rob Fredrickson back in the third. Basagio now trying to do it with the bat. She was out 4-3 back in the first. 1-0 O'Neill, bottom of 4.
Basagio attempts the bunt, but it comes off the top of her bat for a fly ball. Luckily, it goes foul.
Yes, she hit it there maybe in what you'd call no man's land, and fortunate for her as the catcher, pitcher, and first baseman all converged in foul ground, and no one could quite get to it.
First base and third baseman are scooting up for the bunt again. But it's called a strike for the count. 0-2 for Basagio.
And you wonder if Basagio has the opportunity to use her own discretion as they creep up that closely, if they would give her the option to just swing away.
Ooh.
Takes one on the outside corner, called strike 3 for out number 1. Of the strikeouts Pribb now has recorded, and that being her 4th, that's the first one where she's got an Eagle hitter looking. Here comes Shelby Heiser.
She shows the bunt but pulls back. Pass ball lets Erin Boyle advance to second.
So now Heiser, most likely, with the power she has, will be allowed to swing away with the runner in scoring position. Is O'Neill trying to add to a tenuous 1-0 lead?
Swing by Heiser. Fly ball to right field. Goes past the right fielder. Erin Boyle scores, and Shelby Heiser, with the great speed on the bases, advances to third base.
That's her second triple today. She had one against Madison as well. So Heiser coming up big here for the Eagles in the 4th as O'Neill now takes a 2-0 lead. And here is Marissa Miles. Keep in mind, this is a Guardian Angels Central Catholic team that only allowed 1 run to Lutheran High Northeast, and they've just allowed 2 here to O'Neill. So you figure run's going to be pretty tough to come by against the Blue Jays.
Marissa Miles up to bat. She swings and misses for strike number 1.
But O'Neill has that third run just 60 feet away in the person of Shelby Heiser, and there's just 1 out here in the bottom of the 4th.
Third baseman creeps up on Miles. Ooh, pop fly bunt. Goes foul while Miles runs into
what you're going to
first
see, yes,
baseman.
exactly. You're going to see, and I would do this exact same thing as if I were the Guardian Angels coach. Miles collided with the first baseman who was coming in trying to make that play, and they would Guardian Angels is hoping that she would be called out for interference. This is a tough call for the umpire because it's difficult to assume that play, because if the first baseman, Franz Lubers, would have made that catch, it would have been an outstanding play. That's one of the jobs that what's one of the things that makes umpiring such a tough job. And I'll just say I'm glad I didn't have to call that. I saw exactly what Coach Al Krakemeyer saw, and you certainly cannot fault him for coming and asking about that.
Mm-hmm.
It is an 0-2 count now.
Miles swings for the foul ball.
Now, from the umpire's perspective, as I said, it would be somewhat marginal as to whether you could assume that that Franz Lubers would have made that catch.
Mm-hmm. And it's tough because Miles was just running right on that first base line. Sometimes it's hard to get out of the way. I have that trouble sometimes.
Oh, yes, and it's tough. Just a two-person crew, it's tough to see everything. Of course, you have to watch to make sure it's caught, too, because it could be a catch, a diving catch. Was it bobbled?
Exactly. Swing by Miles, high, fly ball to right field. She throws home, but she isn't quite on line. Shelby Heiser scores to make the score 3-0.
And a sac fly and a big one there from Marissa Miles. Her sac fly to the right fielder. Skylar Payton scores Shelby Heiser. And here's Ariel Lichty with the bases clear and 2 outs.
Lichty swings but misses. Strike 1.
0-1 to Lichty. Now O'Neill leads 3-0.
Eagles looking to extend this lead if they can get a 2-out rally here. Nice line drive by Ariel Lichty to left field. She rounds first, but stays.
And
Good
Lichty,
two-out
they
hit.
may run for Lichty, as Lichty has been a good hitter throughout her career, and O'Neill has
Looks like Jean Zach is coming in, too.
right, some pretty good speed on the bench for O'Neill, and so they call on the freshman, Jean Zach, the juniors, Jean Zach. She has a freshman sister on the squad. They call on Jean Zach, the junior, to run for Lichty. And with the leadoff hitter up here, Pinkerman, I would have to think that Zach might be running sometime during this at-bat. Even if she's thrown out, you start the next inning with the leadoff hitter.
Inside pitch by Pribnow for ball number 1.
So O'Neill has scored 2 runs on a couple of hits here in the 4th.
Right on that outside edge, and the umpire calls strike, making the count 1-1. Jean Zach is now on first base. Jean Zach was actually the person in right field who made the last out for our championship game this summer.
And I assume a dog pile followed shortly thereafter.
Oh, our coach Amy Crowder tried. She was pulling us down, but we were just jumping up in the air.
As on that pitch that got away from the catcher, Katie Brown, Jean Zach does take second base.
Prim now with the windup. High outside to make the count 3-1.
So a hitter's count up coming for Pinkerman, to be sure. Once again, glad to have you here on the O'Neill High School website for this Ustream video.
Pinkerman makes contact, but it goes foul.
Of Mid-State Conference softball, thanks to Telebeep Wireless for providing our internet signal.
Full count on Pinkerman right now. Pinkerman with the speed to first base.
Yes, Pinkerman.
Safe.
She's a sprinter in track, and one of those players that almost looks even faster in softball getting down the line. She's fast on both ends. Boy, she really got down the line in a hurry there. Really not much else that Stratman, the shortstop, could do. An infield single for Pinkerman. Now they're on the corners for Jesse Simons.
Pinkerman advances to second.
As Simons protecting the runner there with a fake bunt. And she takes it outside for ball 1. Simons is 1 for 1 tonight with a run scored.
Low outside for Simons, making the count 2-0. Still have runners on third and second.
Zach at third and Randy Pinkerman at second. Good speed on the bases.
Extending this lead would really help the Eagles. Simon makes contact, but it goes foul down the third baseline.
Trying to slap that ball. We talked about this earlier in a broadcast I did with Cody Belzer. The batter's boxes are different in softball than they are from baseball, and the fact that in softball there's more room in front of the plate than there is in baseball, and that allows you to get a running start.
Little high, making the count 3-1.
Pribnow really wanted that one. She was using the body English like we saw Simons for O'Neill a little while ago. A walk here would not be the worst thing for Guardian Angels because it would set up a force anywhere, and Simons does draw the walk.
Now we have Barrelman up to bat.
Barrelman 1 for 1 with an RBI and a sacrifice.
Now the coach for West Point CC calls the time. He's going to talk to his infielders.
It's Al Krackemeyer. Prib now still has the ball, and I think she's going to keep it. I don't think we would see a change here on the mound, just talking a little strategy as to how they want to defend this situation. So O'Neill has pushed 2 across here in the 4th to assume a 3-0 lead.
As the O'Neill Summer team, the Heat softballers would be yelling, "Ducks are on the pond right now."
An old adage from baseball and softball, goes back a long time.
Eagles hoping to hit him home.
And Guardian Angels looking to stop the bleeding here. This game's still very much in doubt with just a score of 3-0, but O'Neill could really break it open with a Barrelman hit.
Low outside, but right on the corner for a strike.
0-1 to Barrelman.
Barrelman really just trying to look for a gap right now. She swings, nice line drive, but it goes foul.
So Prib now a strike away from getting out with no further damage done. The inning started when Boyle walked. Scored on Heiser's triple. Miles ended a sac fly that scored Heiser.
Barrelman holds off for the ball.
Since then, Lichty singled, and Zach came in as a runner for her. Pankerman then singled. With runners on second and third, Simons walked.
Barrelman calls time to get a few extra swings.
And now Barrelman up there with a 1-2 count.
Prib now with the windup. And the changeup by Prib now to strike Danny Barrelman out. Barrelman not happy with that one.
Beautiful pitch there from Prib now, and I have to admit, I saw it the same way the plate umpire did. I thought it was a pretty good pitch.
It was.
But the Eagles extend their lead. 2 runs on 3 hits. The big one, a triple by Heiser. There were no errors, and the Eagles leave the bases loaded. They've stranded 6 through the first 4 at-bats, but O'Neill has a 3-0 lead. And we go to the 5th with Guardian Angel Central Catholic due to send up the 8, 9, and 1 hitters, Weiler, Franz Lubers, and Krackemeyer. That's Miranda Krackemeyer. Don't forget more action tomorrow here. You can follow the link on the O'Neill High School website. That'll take you to Ustream as we'll have the 5 o'clock game. That'll be the 3rd place game between Pierce and the winner of the, or excuse me, that'd be between Pierce and the loser of this game. I beg your pardon. The game behind us on field 1, a 5-2 Lutheran High Northeast lead. That is for 5th place. So Pierce will take on whoever loses this game, and whoever wins this will advance to the championship to play Wayne. 2 games tomorrow here yet from Garden Park. And I hear from the Guardian Angel Central Catholic side the phrase that I always use. You were talking about ducks on the pond. The phrase I always use with baseball and softball, it's a long game. There's no clock here. And I just heard someone from GACC say that off to our right. So true. Here's Weiler.
Attempts the bunt, pops up, and goes behind the catcher, Tony Hammock, for strike number 1.
Weiler, just 1 previous at bat in this ballgame. She struck out back in the 2nd. So she's 0 for 1 with Franz Lubers on deck, the DH.
In summer softball, we have time limits. Do they not in school softball? I wouldn't know.
I don't believe they do in this tournament. Not that I'm aware of that. You know, it's something I should have checked. I'm trying to see if that is a clock on the fence. We had some run rule games earlier, so it never came into play.
That's one thing we had to battle against during summer ball. But now we have Simons with the windup.
Takes it down low for ball 2. 2-1 to Weiler. And they're going to say that she went around, actually. So that'll move it to 1-2. So that changes things.
Third base coach is trying to talk to the umpire about that one. I didn't see it, but what do you think about it, Mr. Hostert?
I thought initially it was going to be called a ball, but on the appeal, I'm going to let the umpires call that, as they're a lot closer to the action than we are. Weiler 1 and 2. Although, again, I think I probably would have done exactly what Coach Al Krakemeyer did, come down and ask about that.
Mm-hmm.
And now Weiler swings and misses for strike 3. And here's Kaylee Franzlubers, the designated player. Franzlubers, a pop up to first, back in the second. Oftentimes, though, it seems like, as this one's fouled back, when you think a player checks their swing and then you watch the replay, say on a TV game, then it seems like they never do. They always went around, actually, when you watch it in slow motion. So I will say this, that rule is enforced a lot more strictly than it once was. If you go back to, say, the 70s or 80s, I don't think you saw that called nearly as often as you do now.
The one odd thing in softball now is if you put your bat out there for the bunt, but you don't move it, and the pitch is called a ball, that is not counted as an attempted swing.
As long as you don't move your bat.
Yes.
I think that puts a lot of pressure on the umpire.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's hard to tell if they...
Some would argue if the bat is out there, that alone would indicate an effort or an attempt to make contact.
Because some argue it crosses that plane, but that's the rule that's enforced right now, while Kaylee Franz Luberg gets called out for strike number 3.
And now 3 strikeouts in a row for Jessie Simons, going back to the bottom of the 4th. And here's Miranda Krakemeyer with nobody aboard and 2 outs.
Right down the pipe for strike number 1.
0-1 to Krakemeyer, the right-handed batting second baseman. She has been on base twice tonight, a double in the first and a walk in the third.
Ooh, Simons with the change up there.
And it's 0-2.
Krakemeyer couldn't hold back.
We've seen good change-ups by both pitchers. Erica Pribnow for Guardian Angels, and now here's Simons for O'Neill.
High outside by Simons, making the count 1-2.
Tori Krakemeyer waits on deck. Nobody aboard, 2 outs. Top half of inning number 5. O'Neill leads 3-0.
Blue Jays really looking for a break here. Fly ball to Jessie Simons for the out. The score remains the Eagles 3, Blue Jays 0.
And due up for O'Neill in the bottom of the 5th, the 4, 5, and 6 hitters, Hammock, Boyle, and Basagio, to face Erica Pribnow. The starting pitcher, she's still in there. She's battled through some injuries on the season. As for Guardian Angels, Fredrickson at third, Stratman at short, Miranda Krakemeyer at second, Marissa Franzlubers at first, Tori Krakemeyer in left, Anna Weiler in center, Skylar Payton in right, Katie Brown's the catcher, and Erica Pribnow the pitcher.
Tony Hammock up to bat.
Hammock, a senior on this O'Neill squad. She also plays summer softball, as I believe all these, I think every player on the O'Neill roster, as you might suspect, does play summer softball. And also competes in track and field.
Tough shot put thrower, Tony Hammock.
She stands in now. She's 0 for 2 tonight. She has put the ball in play twice. And Hammock showed some football prowess a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, she did at Powder Puff football.
homecoming powder puff football tournament that was won by, who was that again?
The seniors.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I forgot that for a moment. Needed to be reminded. 0-1 to Hammock. I guess you would have to don't use the term tournament with football, but I guess you would have to call it that that day.
Yep.
You had to play a couple of contests in one day, a playoff maybe. 1-1 to Hammock.
We're now with the wind-up. Hammock with a grounder to shortstop. Shortstop Melanie Stratman throws the first for the out.
That was a change-up. Nice job there by Pribnow, as Hammock didn't quite get the bat on it like she would have liked to and hit a fairly slow roller to Stratman at short, and Stratman was playing in.
Boyle up to bat, outside pitch by Pribnow for ball number 1.
These are two good teams. This has been a well-played game.
Yes, it has been.
So 1-0 to Aaron Boyle.
Foul ball by Boyle, making the count even. 1-1.
Wayne awaits the winner tomorrow night at 7 o'clock for the Mid-State Conference Championship. Passaggio on deck.
Low outside, called for the ball, making the count 2-1.
It was Boyle that started that fourth inning rally for the Eagles. She walked and then scored on Heiser's triple.
Looked like another changeup there by Pribnow. This one goes for the strike, evening out the count for 2-2.
That's really been her out pitch the last couple of innings,
been.
and she has thrown it very well.
Grounders is second baseman, making the out at first. 2 outs now.
As Miranda Krackmeyer fired that over to Franz Lubers. And here's Carly Passaggio. 0 for 2 tonight, but she's one of the players that's really done it with the glove for the Eagles in this one. You go back to the third inning when Guardian Angels had a runner on second and 1 out, and Cassie Frederickson, the 3-hitter, hit a sinking liner to left, and Passaggio came on and made a shoestring catch.
Counts 1-1 for Passaggio.
If that would have somehow gotten by her, it would have almost certainly tied the game at that point.
Swing by Passaggio. Missed. Passaggio with 2 strikes on her, with 2 outs. Looking to make some contact, maybe to get a rally started for the Eagles. Time called by Passaggio to get a few extra swings. Seen that a few times tonight. Wind up by Pribnow. Swing by Passaggio, and she makes contact, but it goes foul.
Lutheran High leading 6-2 in the 6th over Boone Central on field number 1.
Passaggio still alive. Another changeup by Pribnow, and Passaggio just couldn't hold off long enough, and it goes foul down the third baseline. Another pop-up for a foul ball.
Into the 7th inning, top of the 7th, now over on field 1 thanks to Janice Foster, the scorekeeper for that game, as it's 6-2 Lutheran High in the top half of the 7th.
Passaggio holds off. That was pretty dang close right there. The plate ump actually asked for assistance by the base ump, but the base ump calls that swing safe.
So Passaggio and Pribnow really have a battle going here with 2 outs in the bottom of the 5th.
Full count with 2 outs. Ball number 4, and Carly Basagio advances to first base. Hopefully this starts a little rally for the Eagles to extend this lead as they bring Shelby Heiser up to bat.
And Pribnow and the Blue Jays, of course, hoping to record the out here against a tough hitter, Heiser, and then come to bat in the top of the 6th. They have the 2, 3, and 4 hitters coming up. Now, Coach Krakemeyer coming out to talk with the umpires. Now Chuck Price comes over. Not sure what this is about, if there was a dispute maybe with the count.
That's
on
what
Basagio.
I was thinking.
They're going to...
Are they calling her out? Nope, just giving her
I think they're going to say that it was
back.
a 3-2 count, I believe, yes. I think they're saying there was a... And as I look down at my book, that's what I have as well, would be just a 3-2 count on Basagio. So Carly Basagio back up there, and they're saying full count on Basagio. So Pribnow a chance here to get the Eagles in order.
Basagio swings, grounder to the shortstop, and the shortstop bobbles it.
An uncharacteristic error there by Stratman. And now Basagio is back at first base.
And Heiser is back up to bat.
Heiser, one of the hitting heroes of this game. She had a run-scoring triple back in the 4th, and then eventually came in on Miles' sac fly.
Right on the outside edge of that plate there for strike number 1 on Heiser.
With Miles waiting on deck.
Ball number 1, and Basagio rounds second. So we have 2 outs, a 1-1 count, and Carly Basagio on second.
Outfield straight away for the right-handed batter. Heiser swings and misses for strike 2. Heiser was out 4-3 in the 2nd, and then that triple in the 4th. She's the third baseman, a sophomore.
Pribnow with the windup. I couldn't tell if that was quite a changeup, but it kind of looked like it just a little bit. And Heiser swings.
And misses for strike 3. That's exactly what I think it was, as Pribnow has been very effective with that changeup here, especially in the middle innings. So O'Neill threatens, but nothing across in the 5th. No runs on no hits. There was an error, and that's the first on GACC in this game. And there was a runner left on base. After 5 complete, your score, O'Neill 3, Guardian Angels Central Catholic 0. We go to the 6th, then GACC with the 2, 3, and 4 hitters coming up. Krakemeyer, Fredrickson, and Payton. And Tori Krakemeyer in an interesting situation. The first 2 times she's been up, she's been called on to sacrifice bunt, and she's done that very well. Would the Blue Jays call on her here to try to bunt for a base hit?
Well, she's laid down 2 pretty good bunts so far, so they might. I don't know exactly how much speed she has due to the fact that they were sacrifice bunts, and the Eagles probably saw those 2 coming.
Some of it may hinge on where Heiser is playing. She's even with the bag right now at third base. So she takes a long look down at the third base box and stands in. Pinkerman was over to check the sign of the catcher hammock to check pitch location, and then back to her shortstop position. 0-1 to Krakemeyer. If she entertained any thoughts of bunting, she wasn't showing it there.
hard line drive down the third base line, and it hits the third base bag.
And you're going to get interference on the first
Yes.
baseman, and that'll allow Krackemeyer to go to second base. So an infield single for Krackemeyer, and as she tried to round, she bumped into Aaron Boyle, and it is the responsibility of the fielder, of course, to get out of the way in that situation. And the umpire, the base umpire, right there on that one to call the interference and move Tori Krackemeyer to second base. So she moves to second on the interference play, and here is Cassie Fredrickson.
High pop-up, but I believe it goes out.
Out of play, almost hit KBRX's Mark Mosier. You can see him in the bottom left of your screen, broadcasting for KBRX Radio here in O'Neill. 0-1 to Fredrickson. She has some pretty good pop in the bat.
Another fly ball to pitcher Jesse Simons for out number 1. Tori Krackemeyer stays on second.
And here's Skylar Payton, and GACC has not had a hit since Stratman singled back in the second. Well, until now, until that Krackemeyer single. That's their first hit since the second inning. And here is Payton with one out and a runner at second base.
Ball number 1, Tony Hammock walks back. The runner from second base getting quite a big jump on that one. Almost reaching shortstop.
That
Randy Pinkerman.
That may be a partial answer to your question about Krackemeyer's speed. That might indicate that she runs pretty well. And someone watching here in O'Neill, glad to have you aboard on Ustream Video. Hope you're enjoying this broadcast. It's a 2-0 count now to Skylar Hammock, as Tony Hammock, the catcher, settles back in behind the plate. Skylar Payton, the right fielder, she's the cleanup hitter. 0 for 2 tonight, a ground out in the first and a strikeout in the third.
Simon's getting the sign from Hammock. High outside for ball number 3. The Blue Jays are getting something started here in the top of the 6th.
I think now O'Neill would concede a run for an out. They would trade a run for an out. And I think we can now give a more definitive answer with Krackemeyer. Again, this is our first look at GACC this year. She looks like she runs pretty well. She scooted down to third in a hurry on that wild pitch.
Strike number 1.
Franz Luber waits on deck. So GACC trying to break through her against Simons in the 6th. O'Neill leading 3-0.
High pitch for Simons. Moving number 11, Skylar Payton, to first. So now we have runners on first and third. Someone comes in to run for Payton.
Yes, coming in to run for Guardian Angels for Payton is going to be Ashley Minnick. She's a freshman. And now timeout called by the Eagles as Chuck Price out to confer with the O'Neill squad just to the third base side of the pitcher's circle. And the GACC base runners, along with the hitter that's due up, Marissa Franzlupers, confer over by third base. A golden opportunity here for the Blue Jays to get on the board, as O'Neill scored a single run in the first and then 2 in the fourth to assume a 3-0 lead. But Guardian Angels Central Catholic out of West Point threatening here in the top of the 6th. Runners on the corners and just one out, and Franzlupers, who has a hit tonight, she singled back in the second but was stranded there. And she hit a fly ball to Miles in right field in the fourth. She's 1 for 2.
Simon stepping up to the mound.
Again, O'Neill probably would concede a run for an out in this situation. Atkins at second base playing pretty deep.
As I guessed, the Blue Jays sent the runner on first to second. Now we have runners on second and third.
Pitch was called a strike, and that did eliminate the force.
Swing and a miss, making the count 0-2.
And that's what, if you're O'Neill, that's what you want, of course, would be a strikeout or a pop-up. Franz Luber's behind 0-2.
High outside by Simons.
Good discipline by Franz Lubers as Jesse Simons tried to get her to chase, but the 5-hitter in the Blue Jay order wasn't buying it.
Guessing she might want to have another outside pitch here. See if she can get her swinging. Simon winds up. Right down the middle, but we get a pop fly at third. Shelby Heiser makes the catch for an out. That makes out number 2, but we still have runners on second and third.
And that's exactly what Guardian Angel Central Catholic didn't want. That's the worst case scenario, really.
Now we have number 18, Katie Brown, up to bat.
A strikeout might even have been better because you have the possibility with first base open of a drop third strike that the defense would have to throw down.
Looking to give some hope for these Blue Jays. Strike number 1.
Brown, 0 for 1 tonight. She had a sacrifice bunt back in the second that was out 1-3 in the fourth. Simons, well, you really have to credit her. She has fielded her position well in this ballgame.
Base hit to first base. Boyle grounds the ball, steps on first base for the out. The Eagles get out of that one.
That was hit sharply by Katie Brown. Boyle, though, knew she had time. We talked about her range, and she was able to knock that down and sprint to the bag for out number 3. And O'Neill dodges a bullet in the 6th. No runs for GACC on 1 hit. There were no errors and 2 runners left on base. Guardian Angels has stranded 6 through their first 6 at-bats, and after 5.5 innings of play, your score remains O'Neill 3 and GACC 0. Due up for O'Neill in the bottom of the 6th, Miles, Lichty, and Pinkerman. So we hit the 9 o'clock hour. This one actually got underway at about 7:45. Brown, of course, she was the last batter, so understandable why she is the last one out to the playing field as she fields a couple of warm-up pitches from Erica Pribnow on a cool night here at Kearney Park. 54 degrees now. Mike Peterson, our
third
technician.
And second, a little off there.
Again, thanks to Telebeep Wireless at Norfolk and O'Neill for providing our internet signal. Big thanks to Mike Peterson. He's the brains behind this whole operation with the Ustream video. And he's been here all day. We started at 2 o'clock with the Pierce Spoon Central game, then O'Neill Madison, then Wayne and Pierce, and now O'Neill and GACC.
Outside pitch by Pribnow, but it's called a strike.
0-1 to Marissa Miles, who has a sac fly, an RBI, back in the 4th.
She swings and misses for strike number 2.
She struck out back in the 2nd. She also has a putout from her right field position. Junior at St. Mary's.
She did have an outside of the park home run earlier this season. Ball number 1 by Pribnow, making the count 1-2.
Also get a text in, somebody watching from their easy chair and saying, thanks for doing this. Yeah, we're having a lot of fun here. It's been a long day, but always a lot of fun. As that swung on a miss, gets away from the catcher, but Brown runs it down and throws to first to get Miles by about a step. So a strikeout and then a 2-3 put out for out number one. And here's Ariel Lichty, the designated player. She delivered a delivered a hit, and then the Eagles elected to use a courtesy runner for her, that being Gene Zach. Lichty down low. We do have a final over there as Lutheran High broke that open late and won 11-2 over Boone Central. So Lutheran High, congratulations to the Eagles as they finish in 5th place in this year's conference tournament, and Boone Central finishes in 6th.
The count now for Lichty is 2-0, but she swings and it's right into right center.
It shows
things started for the Eagles.
Shows you some of the depth of this O'Neill squad. There's the 9-hitter, and she's 2 for 3. And here is Pinkerman, and now Zach is going to be called on again to run for Lichty. So Gene Zach, a backup outfielder, running for Ariel Lichty at first base with a runner there and one out. And here's Randy Pinkerman. Pinkerman, 1 for 3 tonight. Struck out in the first, a pop up to short in the third, but then a single in the fourth.
How high outside, and the catcher throws to first, but it goes past the first baseman. So Gene Zach advances to second. She overpasses second a little bit, and the first baseman actually threw down to second, but Gene Zach is still called safe.
That'll be an error, the second on Guardian Angels in this ball game.
I think they might have had that planned a little bit. Gene Zach over on first base got a big lead, making the catcher want to throw down to first, and it ended up working out for the Eagles.
I was glancing down. Do you think it was a called pitch out by GACC, or do you think it just happened to be an outside pitch that the catcher threw on?
Could have been. I really don't know there. Wind up by Prim now.
It is much tougher to call that in softball, of course, because you cannot get a lead. You don't. We can't leave until the release of the pitched ball, but perhaps they saw Zach, maybe GACC saw something from Zach last time she ran.
Ground ball to second baseman. Second baseman tosses it to first baseman for out number 2 for the Blue Jays.
But a good piece of hitting there by Pinkerman, because she punched it to the right side, and that allowed the runner to move to third. Coaches in all sports oftentimes talk about the little things. There's something that won't show up on the scorecard, but it could be a very important play.
Absolutely. Now we have Simons up to bat. With a runner on third, hoping to get something here. Inside pitch, and it's called for a strike. Simons learning to slap hit by Gordy Gibbons. Inside for ball number 1.
He is one of her summer coaches.
Yes, he is.
Longtime softball coach here in O'Neill.
Swing, it almost looked like it was off the foot there a little bit, but not for sure. The count now is 1-2.
Simons walked and scored in the first, singled in the third, and walked in the fourth. Her walk in the fourth loaded up the bases with 2 outs.
And she swings for strike number 3. Blue Jays getting out of that one. The bottom of the 6th, the score remains the Eagles 3, Blue Jays 0.
So no runs for the Eagles in the bottom of the 6th. On one hit, there was an error and a runner left on base. So after 6 complete is Lindsay Uppy mentioned O'Neill continues to lead at 3-0. 7, 8, and 9 coming up for GACC in the top of the 7th. And I'm sure the O'Neill coaches over in that third base dugout were reminding the Eagles about GACC's comeback in their earlier game today. They trailed, actually, Lutheran High Northeast going to their last at bat and rallied for 2 to win that one 2-1.
If the Eagles, excuse me there, if the Eagles don't let the Blue Jays score more than 2, the Eagles will win and advance to the championship tomorrow versus Wayne.
And the loser of this game would play Pierce tomorrow night at 5 o'clock in the consolation game. Last year, Wayne and GACC squared off in the Mid-State Championship game. Here's Melanie Stratman. She is 1 for 2 tonight, a single in the second and a strikeout in the fourth. Good shortstop with fine range.
Low inside pitch by Simons. Ball 1.
Really, the games between these two schools really pretty new because until O'Neill joined the Mid-State Conference, I don't know really of any meetings between O'Neill and West Point Central Catholic.
We played West Point CC in volleyball last week, and that was the first time we've ever played at their home court.
I heard they have a nice gym. I need to stop in there sometime. I've only been to the track in West Point and the baseball field. I've been there for several state baseball tournaments. They have a nice community, fine facilities, both schools.
They got new floor, new lights, which makes a difference. Swing by Melanie Stratman, making that 2 strikes. The count 1 and 2.
It's a school with a very strong athletic tradition over the years. I remember refereeing a number of their girls' basketball games in the summertime, and they were a juggernaut, an outstanding team.
Jesse Simons and Tony Hammock have pretty good pitcher-catching chemistry. They're best friends off of the field, which probably makes a difference on the field with communication. Strike 3 for Simons.
And a big out there for O'Neill as Simons gets Stratman swinging here to start the 7th.
1 out recorded for the Eagles.
And by my book, that is the 6th strikeout for Simons. And here is
new batter, number 1.
And that would be Carolyn Farr. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
She's a freshman.
Hitting for Weiler.
Jesse Simons with the windup.
That went off the mask of Simons. That'll rattle the cage.
Farr makes a little contact there for strike number 1.
I'm hoping that's correct. I suppose it could be Fraher as well. F-R-A-H-E-R. I apologize to the West Point folks. I did not check the names of all the reserves.
Makes pretty good contact, but it goes foul.
Out of play over there by the O'Neill dugout. A lot of the blue and white clad Eagle fans off to our left, and also pretty good showing from Guardian Angels considering the nearly 2-hour drive or so.
There's also construction on the way, which makes it a little more tough. The changeup by Simons, making the count 1 and 2.
That's
with
good.
Only 1 out.
That's good to know, as I plan to drive to Madison on Friday night to broadcast high school football. As the Lutheran High Northeast Eagles leave in front of us. And there's a swing and a miss for strike 2. or strike 3 and out number 2 is Fraher, the pinch hitter, gone, and now the Eagles just an out away from advancing to their first ever Mid-State Conference Softball Championship. And it looks like Pribnow, the pitcher, will hit for herself. So Erica Pribnow, they're going to give up the DP and let Pribnow swing away. Of course, she would need to reach base, as would another Blue Jay for Guardian Angels Central Catholic to have a chance in this one.
Simon's receiving the sign from Hammock. Pribnow makes a little contact but goes foul for strike number 1. Eagles hoping to either make a routine play here or strike out. Looked like a little change up there to third base. Nice throw by Shelby Heiser to Aaron Boyle to get the out, and the Eagles advance to the championship game versus the Wayne Blue Devils, which will be a tough one because Wayne has always had a good history of girls softball.
Yes, the two teams have split on the season. They split a doubleheader earlier this year in Wayne. So O'Neill wins it 3-0. Jessie Simons gets the victory on the mound, and Erica Pribnow, who pitched well, she takes the tough luck loss. Totals for O'Neill, I had the Eagles with 3 runs, and they got those on 7 hits. O'Neill did not commit an error, and the Eagles left 8 runners on base. For GACC, no runs on 4 hits. They committed 2 errors and left 6 runners on base. So once again, that's going to wrap it up for day 1. Once again, your lineup for tomorrow: Guardian Angels Central Catholic and Pierce at 5 o'clock in the third place game, and O'Neill and Wayne for the title tomorrow at 7. And we plan to have both of those for you via Ustream video on the O'Neill High School website. There will be a link there. Sure hope you enjoyed the webcast today. Thanks to all the people who helped us out. Cody Belzer, Sarah Duvall, Lindsay Appleby, thanks a lot.
No problem.
I
enjoyed it.
Get you on the air again sometime. You have volleyball tomorrow night, I think.
Yes,
is that right?
we do. We play the Creighton Bulldogs, which will be a tough one for me since I have quite a big family who lives in Creighton. I have about 3 relatives that start, so it'll be a little family competition there. So. And
also your mom's hometown.
Yes. And my cousin is also helping coach. Wait, she is not anymore, actually. She did last year, so it'll be a little family affair tomorrow.
Also, one last text in. So I'll take a look at that here and say hello to the Basagios out west, I believe, probably. I'm thinking out there in that Gordon area, maybe, out there on Highway 20. Hey, glad to bring it to you, and we hope you have a chance to tune in tomorrow as well, as O'Neill wins this one 3-0 over GACC. Once again, big thanks to Cody Belzer, Sarah Duvall, Lindsay Appleby, and also a special thank you to Mike Peterson. He's our computer technician and cameraman here. So for now, from Kearney Park, I'm Gary Hostert. Have a good evening, everyone.
If we don't sleep at all.